In Australia now, it is 10 November and it's 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. And I'm really excited to have everybody on board here. From most of our members actually come from America Pacific Daylight Time, and it's now, I think it's 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So just a quick history, and I don't want to go into that again too much because we spoke about that last week. And I'm going to explain to you how we get to our algorithm analysis. Let me just start my video there, and then people can see me as well if you want to look at me. So I'm now 49 years old. I was born in South Africa, and I grew up extremely poor. And the reason why I'm telling you this is to show you, and I'm going to explain to you how this algorithm came about. So I grew up in South Africa. I grew up in an orphanage when I was, or lived in an orphanage for the rest of my life. At one stage, my sister and I had to cut a boiled egg in half, and she could choose which side she wanted. We used to take brown bread and dip that in Coca-Cola and eat it just to get our hunger pains away. And as I grew up in this orphanage at the age of 12 or 13 years old, I realized that the only thing that I haven't got a family, but the only thing that I have is my mind, my method of thinking. And I suddenly realized that my mind is so powerful that I can move myself, I can close my eyes and move myself onto a beach in Hawaii. I can move myself into Alaska catching fish. I can travel all over the world. I can travel 1,000,000 years back in time, and I can travel in the future 1,000,000 years. So your mind is actually so powerful. And the reason I'm going to explain or telling this to you or explaining this to you is because I'm going to show you what the algorithm does and how the algorithm works as well. It works similar to your mind. So at the age of 13 years old, I set my goals and I said to myself, this skinny little kid, all bones, no muscle, is going to become one of the world's best special forces soldiers. And I put my mind to that, and I achieved that. I went into the South African Special Forces, was in the Parachute Battalion in South Africa, and I served under 2 presidents in South Africa and became a decorated lieutenant in the Parachute Battalion in South Africa. After that, I went to America, chased my goals, went and studied and finished my degrees, and then went and worked in America for big and large oil and gas companies. While I was working for these large oil and gas companies, you name them, Shell, BP, Woodside, Arrow Energy, Santos, Woodside, I worked for every single oil and gas company in some sort, form or another, simply because we developed an algorithm that could predict the future path of that oil and gas company when they work with people in the field. We could take the data, the past data of, for example, a very prominent oil and gas company, put that into our algorithm. Now remember, an algorithm is nothing different than a computerized set of rules. We developed this algorithm as similar like using Excel in a super form, but it's a souped up, powerful Excel format. And our algorithm is built in C++ and Python. So it's basically a computerized set of rules. So we would input that data into this algorithm and then tell the algorithm, based on all this data that you have from near misses, fatalities, incidents, hazards, what is the potential that this specific company, if they keep on doing what they're doing, using the same management system, the same job safety analysis, the same JSAs, what is the probability that they will have a fatality, a near miss, or an incident? And then it would kick us out the probability. Let's say, for example, that they would have 1.75 fatality, or 2, 3, or 4, and we would then give the company that analysis and tell them what they need to do as a mitigation control in relation to cause and consequence. So this worked out really well, and my work took me all over the world, and I came to Australia, and I worked here for BP, Shell, Woodside, Arrow Energy, Santos, you name it, Weatherford, Halliburton. There's not a oil and gas company or a service contractor that I have not worked for, even drilling contractors. So I found that my algorithm is pretty accurate. And years ago, I started looking into the world stock markets, and I took Apple as an example. I took the Apple charts, imported that into my algorithm, and it kicked me out the future pathway of where Apple could potentially go. And I then realized that, wow, this thing is pretty accurate. I then decided to take the charts of Bitcoin. Now, I could not get hold of the Bitcoin charts of 2008, 9, and 10, but we managed to get trading data. Now, what we did is with the Bitcoin charts, on every single Bitcoin year, there are approximately 600 points where Bitcoin went up and when Bitcoin went down. For example, if you look at this on our chart now, where we are at the moment, from there to about there, that is an uptrend. So that uptrend there, let me just put an arrow in, you can see that. That uptrend is 0.1 on our chart. Think about now that we start with, let's say, 2013, and we start in the beginning of the year. If the market goes up, that is 1. And we call that 2013 1. Now, the first year that we started, it was called A1. And then when it goes down, that is A2. When it goes up again, that's A3. And we found that there are approximately 600 ups and downs in every single Bitcoin year. So we had all this data from 2008 till now, 2018, and we imported that data in a mathematical equation into our algorithm and overlaid all these charts over each other. Lo and behold, what we found is that there are a special pattern or patterns. There are 32 patterns that kind of repeat itself year by year by year. And through a complex mathematical equation, we found out what is the pattern divergence in the cryptocurrency market, aka Bitcoin rather. Now, patterns repeat itself year after year after year. And this is what you see exactly now on your screen. Now, remember what I said when I grew up in that orphanage and I only had my mind. Now, listen to yourself. If you want to know where you are going to be in 4 or 5 years from now, listen to what you say to yourself. If you input good data into your mind today, and you tell yourself that I'm going to be out of debt, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to make it, my marriage is going to be great, and in 5 years from now, you get there and you're going to find that you're out of debt, you're making a lot of money, you're wealthy, you're helping a lot of other people, your marriage is great, you've got good relationship with your children. Now, if you in 5 years from now, and then you look back 5 years backwards now, and you look at what information did I put in my mind to achieve these goals, you're going to find that you put a lot of good characterization in your mind. You read a lot of good books. You avoid watching mainstream media. So you created your own destiny as per se. Because if you want to know where you are going to be in 5 years from now, listen to what you say to yourself. I promise you that's where you're going to be. I know as this is a fact because I grew up in an orphanage, very poor. I literally created my destiny with my own thought process and then taking action to achieve those goals. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because an algorithm is exactly the same. What you input in the algorithm in the past is what it's going to kick you out in the future. And this is what you are seeing on these charts here now for Bitcoin. Now, these golden arrows, let me just delete that red arrow there. These golden arrows that you see on your screen now is the algorithm potential play for Bitcoin over the next 30 to 40 days. Now, the real algorithm is actually hidden, and I'm going to bring that up on the screen here now. Okay, there you can see it now as the red line chart. And I'm going to give you a little bit extra information than what we normally put into our charts. What we expect here now from Bitcoin is to stop somewhere around here in this block, turn around, go upwards, and then sideways according to this red arrow line. When we get here to perhaps maybe 13, 12, 13, or 14, somewhere around there, we can probably move that back a little bit. And we say here around about 13, 14, 15, we can have a breakout. And that breakout there is going to be a little bit higher than that point there. And remember, this all comes from our algorithm analysis. It's not us just predicting this or thinking it out of our mind or dreaming it and then come up with this analysis. And this is why we show the arrows that we're going to go sideways, we're then going to go upwards, have a little bit of a drop, then upwards again. So you're going to find here around about the 16, 17 of November is that we're then going to have an uptrend that is going to increase the value of every single altcoin out in the market. And then we're going to go upwards, and here, right at that point, we approximately 24, 25, 26, and 27 November, we're going to have this exact, now look at this on the left-hand side. Can you see this pink line here? That's kind of like a wedge where we actually came to a point and then we broke out. We can have a smaller wedge at this point here, where the market is going to go up, down, is going to drop for 2 or 3 days, and it could go down to 6665, and then come up and form the same little pennant, and then it's going to break out here by 26, 27 November and go upwards, come down. Let me just bring that up as well, and just giving you an overall direction. Then it's going to come down there and then shoot up into December. And here, around about the end of November, beginning December, we are going to break $7,000 target. Once Bitcoin, according to our algorithm, breaks the $7,000 mark, we are going to go into a ballistic mode. So now remember, this is not the information that we really post in our reports, and this is what the information is that you're going to get extra on these webinars. So, because I want to give you the big view picture, we expect that we're going to go upwards into December, right into this little box here, which is about 86, 85. Now, it's very difficult to predict in the future in December and say that we're definitely going to hit 85, 86. But as we go forward, our algorithm gets a little bit more accurate because it's working on the past data of what is happening around about year where we are now going forward in the next week and 2 and 3 weeks. And once we get this uptrend and we establish that is correct, the algorithm is perfect, we can then use that data to predict what is going to happen here in December. But in December, we are going to have, and this is just a warning for you guys, we are going to have a sharp, sharp, sharp drop. Something like that. Once we get to this point here, I'm going to warn you guys of that sharp drop. And at that point, we want to get out of the market or maybe sell 25% or 30 or 50 or 60 or 70% of your portfolio. It's not going to be long. It's not going to stay there long. It's then going to go upwards again. But be prepared to accept that drop. Now remember, as we go up here, it's not just going to go straight up. The market does things like this. And our algorithm points to that as well. So these silly little drops there, we're not going to get out of those. You know, we are waiting for that big one here just before Christmas to get out of the market. And why it is before Christmas, we don't really know, but we do see that drop coming, and we just need to be aware of this. So let's have a look quickly what is going to happen in the market over this weekend and then going into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now, there's a lot of strength, major strength in Bitcoin. And what we're saying here is follow the pattern. This is basically an algorithm guideline. Now, we can't predict perfectly and say that the market is going to $6,325 and $46. We can't do that. Nobody can do that. But we can give you an indication like this, where we say the market is going to go up to that level, then it's going to come down, then it's going to go sideways upwards, and then up. And we can't specifically say, and you know, a lot of people nail me on Twitter and they say, oh, you said, for example, the market is going to pop and break out on 14 October. It happened on 16 October, 2 days later. You were wrong. Whoopie-doo. You know, I mean, we can't predict every single day, but we can give you a guideline of where the market is going to go. So just keep that in mind, guys, that we are not 100% correct. Even though we say here that the market is going to pop here on the 14th of November, it could be between 12, 13, 14, or it could be a day later. But we are definitely going to see a pop there, and this high point here is going to be higher than that point. Once we see that play, we know that Bitcoin will never, ever turn back. And keep in mind that we called for the world Bitcoin low here on 10 October. And we said that Bitcoin will never, ever go lower than 6061. Now, we call that after this drop here. This drop was supposed to go a little bit lower below this red line. It did not happen. It went downwards, stopped there, came back, and that's why we say we saw this major strength in the market. And one of the reasons there is, what I want you to understand is that the strength in the market is basically called, we have exposed the OTC market. Our company went and had a look at the OTC market. OTC market is kind of like, it's called over-the-counter sales of cryptocurrencies, but I just call it under-the-table dealings in the dark. It's basically thugs and financial institutions going to big exchanges and say, I don't want to pay the Bitcoin price that it's now, let's say 6,322. I want to pay $6,250. And then they make a deal with this exchange, and this exchange then gives them the coins, and the financial institution gives them the millions of dollars. Now that OTC money never ever gets recorded on coin market cap. We have discovered exactly at this point, about here on the 31st of October, somewhere in that week, the first week of November, that the OTC money, and as of today, this morning, the OTC money is about $220 billion. And I'm saying it again, guys, it's $1 billion, not million, it's $1 billion. It's almost the same as the coin market cap. So coin market cap should be about $440 billion. Yes, you've heard me correct. If I bring up our algorithm chart, because we run an algorithm chart without manipulation, it shows that Bitcoin should be at about 14,600 at this very moment. So it just shows you that OTC money is completely manipulating the market, but we are now aware of that. And once we're aware of that, we know that the market is going to go upwards here. That underlying pressure is factored into sentiment in the market. You know it now, I know it, and many other people in the world, all over the world, are now knowing it. And this is why you will see that if Bitcoin drops, like what had happened there, exactly now in the last 3-4 hours, we were watching this. I was actually doing another webinar with some other people from around the world just earlier, and we were watching this drop. And then we saw, as soon as it came then there to 6,300, a massive amount of buying took place where people just bought it. And people like you and I like to call us the blue collar workers, people like you and I will wrap that up and buy it. And the elite is losing control because they can't dump Bitcoin anymore. And I'm going to say this again, you know, the elite is losing control. They can't dump any more Bitcoin. As soon as they do it, there are 17 wallets that we follow. And these wallets, their attempt is to destroy Bitcoin and keep Bitcoin at a low price so that financial institutions can come in and wrap it up at that cheap price. But what is happening is those 17 wallets keep on selling Bitcoin every five Bitcoins every minute. And they sell it at a lower price than what is offered on exchanges. The only way that you can sell Bitcoin at a lower price than what exchanges are offering it, and listen to me really carefully here, is if you have an insider working in Coinbase, an insider working in Bitfinex, or on Binance. And they all collude together because they have to go in manually and then sell that Bitcoin for a cheaper price and manually fix that price. And that is why you see these little stabs going downwards, downwards, downwards. Now, in effect, if you look at an Elliott wave analysis, when you have downward trends like this that you see there, you know, where you get like that red little stab where it goes down these long wicks, it means that Bitcoin should actually go a lot lower, but it's not doing that. And you're going to see now that we are going to go sideways and break upwards into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Weekends are always bad for any cryptos. Markets always go down on weekends, with the exception of 1 or 2 weeks in between where the market simply breaks out. Maybe we could see that breakout actually over this weekend where it would go back to this level here. What is that noise? Let me just see. Okay, cool. So, so what we see now, guys, in this market is that we could break up, follow this red line here. This is the algorithm trend line. We're going to have a breakout somewhere here, 12, 13, 14 November, a breakout above that level, and then we're going to go upwards here and form that little wedge again. Now that wedge there is not going to break down as what a lot of people suggest. That won't break down. As a matter of fact, that is going to break upwards. And just to give you an idea also now, you'll see there's a lot of trading analysts all over the world now. And what they are doing, they're calling for a capitulation event of Bitcoin going down. We say, no, it's going to stop here and then go back upwards. So at this moment now is a good time to buy all sorts of cryptos, especially over this weekend. If the market go down, you look at coins like ZRX, for example, going downwards. You look at this one, Wax is another good one. I'm just going to mention a few coins here. You know, like Wax is something really good, and you surely should look at that as well. It's now having that momentum there, and surely it's going to go basically pretty much upwards from here. ADX is another one. It's consolidating, and we see some movement upwards here. As soon as Bitcoin starts moving, there are some other coins that we also have, like 10x Pay. 10x Pay and Populous together, really great coins. 10x Pay, you can literally throw $500 in 10x Pay, leave that, and we expect that to turn into $23,000. Yes, you heard it right, $23,000 by investing only $500. PPT, another great one. I think you guys have got most of these. Now remember, these are not the only cryptos that are good in the markets. There are many, many cryptos, and you're going to see that as soon as Bitcoin now starts moving upwards, all altcoins are going to explode higher. So yeah, so let's just get back to this chart. And what I will do, I will throw this open now for questions. If you want to ask questions, I'm just going to bring this chart up here as well. Now this one here, please keep this confidential as well. This is our confidential Apple algorithm of block AGH, LF. Now what you're going to see here is that the market in Bitcoin came down completely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And we are there. We are right there now, where we're breaking out, we're going down. And what we're going to see, guys, over the next 90 days is exactly this pattern in Apple. Now remember, please keep this confidential. You're welcome to take a screenshot if you want. We are not going to see this drop here. See this drop in Apple where we come down here. Now this, remember, this is Apple. Yeah, this is probably amazing information that I'm going to show you here. Okay, look at this Apple chart here. This is about year one, where I am now. And I think this was about 2011. This is 2012. This year is 2013, and then 2014. What you literally see on your chart now here is a 4-year play or a 4-year chart. Bitcoin, remember I've always said that Bitcoin, if you look at Bitcoin, it's literally moving, in our opinion, about 6 times faster than Apple. So to have a breakout year and then another breakout year, guys, I tell you, in what we see in the next 90 days or 6 months is a humongous move upwards till Bitcoin then drops again. And as we said on the last webinar again, we see the high point for Bitcoin on 13 April 2019. So there's going to be massive, massive gains to be made over this next period. And keep in mind exactly what I said, that if you literally go and look at the Apple chart, Bitcoin is moving about 6 times faster. We are going to be stunned with the growth of Bitcoin over the next 6 months. Once we get out of this block here and we have that uptrend here into December and January, that trend there, we're going to have some drawbacks here, pullbacks. I think from memory, we're still looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. We're still looking at about 4 crash points during this year. And that one crash point could be there, 2 there, 3, maybe 4, before we go up to the high point. But this is what you're looking at. And as I said, I think in last week's webinar, that we believe that at the high point, we are going to break $37,000 to $40,000 Bitcoin. So this is just a long-term view picture that we see. And you can see literally that in our opinion that we are right down here at the low. So let me open this then for questions. And if there's any questions, let's ask those questions and then move along.
Marius, maybe I missed it in the beginning, but why Apple? Why are you comparing to Apple, please?
Okay, what we've identified with Apple, and we had permission from Apple to use their charts. We went back and investigated Apple. Maybe let me explain it this way. Before I got involved in Bitcoin, now remember, we developed the algorithm. I did the work in the oil and gas industry, and I found that that work is exceptional. It works really well and is very accurate. I then started investing in world stock markets. This goes back to, maybe when was the first time we invested there? 2000 and maybe 10, 11 year in Australia when we started investing in the ASX, the Australian stock market. One of the stocks, now remember, I owned a very large computer store in New Zealand. It was an Apple store as well as a Microsoft store. And I've always been a fan of Apple, just to give you a bit of history. And I've always invested in Apple since it was $23, $50, $100. So when we came to Australia, I had a look at the Apple charts and I pulled them to pieces, like where you take 1 year of Bitcoin and you look at uptrends and downtrends, uptrends and downtrends. And we found that there is a pattern in Apple year by year that repeats itself. So this was my first look at the algorithm where we imported data of Apple. Now, we had approximately about 7 years worth of data of Apple. I started trading Apple and I was pretty successful in making money in Apple. And when I then started looking at a later stage at the Bitcoin charts, when we pulled it into our algorithm and had the final viewpoint of what the future price of Bitcoin looks like, I said to myself, but I remember these patterns, I remember these charts. And I brought up the Apple charts and the Bitcoin charts, and they looked, the charts didn't look the same, but the algorithm data, when you overlay them, looked the same. So the same patterns that were repeating themselves in Apple were repeating themselves in Bitcoin. For example, let me show you this. Now have a look at this downtrend here. Remember, there's the high point. That high point is the 16 December 2017 high point for Bitcoin. And you'll see that Bitcoin came right down to the bottom here, which was the $11,000 point for Bitcoin. It went up again and it dropped again. It went up again, dropped again. Now remember, in my reports, as we went into this falling wedge, from round about the beginning of the year, we've always said that the market is in a downtrend. If you look at this chart now, you'll see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 downtrends, ups and downs. And then it started breaking out exactly as per the Bitcoin chart. Now, keep in mind that is 16 December. And let's go to the Bitcoin chart and quickly have a look. Okay, let's just squash this up. Can you see what I mean now? There we go. There's the high point of Apple. There's that drop. There it goes up again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points. And now we're going to have that breakout and upwards. So you can see that now it's a visual identifier for you, but we look at the algorithm data. Can you see there it is again, the 16 drop came all the way down. Now we're down at that little point there where we are going to break out upwards. Now remember, we look at the algorithm data. It's completely different as looking at a visual chart. So does that answer your question there?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And it was Marius, by accident that we discovered that, you know. As a matter of fact, you'll actually find that Microsoft runs the same pattern. Look, guys, what we have discovered here is that every single thing, in my opinion, the world stock markets and also Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies all run with a certain pattern. Now, there's two questions to ask. Is that pattern manipulated, or is it sentiment running from people's behavior, from the world population? So we can't quantify that. I would say it's a question of both, because we all are collectively one unit on earth, our brain power, we all work together, and our thinking process is similar. Now, when we invest in cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin or world stock markets, we've got the same fear and the indecision. Should I buy? Like the market would drop and you would say to yourself, should I buy now? And you say, no, I'm not going to buy in the falling market. And then what people do, they wait, and they start buying here on the top. That's what everybody does. That's why I say it could be that it is a mental attribute or a behavioral assessment, but also a bit of pattern play by people manipulating Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and the world stock markets. Because there's no way that I believe that Apple and Microsoft is running their own destination. I believe it's manipulated. So yeah, go ahead with that second question.
Yeah, I was still curious on the OTC market. If the whales can buy in, another 200 billion, and it doesn't reflect the market cap on coin market cap, what's to prevent them from buying 500 billion or a trillion? And if they do that, does it still not increase the price in Bitcoin? And if that happens, I mean, what has to trigger before that increases the market cap?
Yes, that's a very good question. They can obviously spend another 200 billion, Mike, and they can still buy OTC. But we and a whole bunch of other people now are going to create a website, and I hope that happens very soon, where we are going to link OTC money similar to what we do with coin market cap. If that happens, more people will be aware that the entire coin market cap is not what they say it is. Unfortunately, we deal with people that are pretty unethical because they've been doing this for a long time. OTC didn't just come into the market now recently. It's been there for a long time, but we just never knew about it. Now, you and I, we can't go and buy OTC because you need to have millions of dollars. You need to have the contacts. You need to have financial institutional status. So it's very difficult for us to quantify exactly what these people buy, where do they keep it, in what wallets they keep it. Some of these wallets, what they do, they would go and buy, for example, $2 million or $3 or $4 or $10 million worth of Bitcoin and spread them into 20 different wallets. But there is software now that we can identify which wallets are linked to a certain entity. Of course, these large wallets that contain 1,000 and 2,000 and 3,000 Bitcoin, sometimes those wallets belong to big exchanges like Binance, Bitfinex, Coinbase. But at this moment, it's very difficult for us to bring that value in. If that value gets brought into coin market cap, you will see a pop in Bitcoin like you've never seen before. It will literally go from $6,000 and double the price to 12, 13, 14,000, like literally within a week. But those people will never ever release that data. But we hope that we will get the data released.
So, do you think that they're doing that until they build out their platforms and they're ready to push the market up so that they can front run everybody?
It could be. At the moment, the institutions want to keep the price as low as possible because they are getting into the market and they're buying cryptos. They know that Bitcoin cannot go lower than about 6,400, 6,500, 6,000. Every time it goes to that price, people wrap it up and it goes back to 6,300, 6,400. That's the level where it is now. So this is why we said that around about the 14th of this month is that the elite is going to lose control and they will start buying in a normal way through exchanges. Let me quickly show you this. Here we go, the world stock markets. Okay, this is what the world stock markets is doing, and we predicted this. We didn't draw this in just now. This has always been there. Let me just go back to one of our charts. It's unfortunate that we sit with these people that manipulate the market, but I do not believe it's going to happen forever. And you can't just simply buy OTC money over the counter forever. I'm just going to bring up the latest report here of, what is it, 4 November. Just wait for that to open.
Marius, can you explain why you think Bitcoin will decouple on the 15th or 14th?
Just ask that question again. I missed you there.
You're saying that the elites are going to lose control on the 14th and 15th, and it's going to decouple from the stock market. Can you explain the reasoning why you believe that?
I can explain it to a certain extent, but I don't want to get into the politics. It's got to do with politics in America as well. And as you know, that we've used our algorithm to do some political work for campaigns over the last 3-4 years. But we literally have stopped that now because it's becoming a dangerous business. It's you know, you do work for the Trump campaign, and then other people that hate Donald Trump nail you, and they just come after you. You do work for the Democrats, and then the Republicans come after you. So we literally are stopping that. You know, we don't want to do any work for the political campaigns in America anymore, because as you know, people disappear very, you know, they just disappear. Anyway, let's leave that comment there. So what you can see here, now I am going to bring a bit of politics in here, but I don't want to make Bitcoin a political endeavor, and we don't want to talk about the religion anyway. Okay, so politics, religion, let's leave it aside. But I have to explain this. Now, this is what we said. We said that the market is going to go down to point A here, and then it's going to start moving up to that point there, then come back slightly, just before the American elections, and then after the elections, it's going to push itself upwards into point B. At that point, the market is going to go down. And our algorithm took into account what is going to happen in the American politics. First of all, we said that the Democrats are going to win the House because our algorithm pointed to that. We then said that the Republicans are going to win the Senate, because that is what they focused on. They wanted to win the Senate and not necessarily the House. The Democrats focused on the House. What has happened now is that there's a lot of positive sentiment in the American market. The Democrats think that they have won, and they have blasted it all over national media. So they have won, and they feel positive. The Republicans think that they have won as well. So there's positive sentiment. That is where this uptrend is going to go, up till approximately maybe 12, 13, or 14 in those 3 days. Now, keep in mind this chart that you look at now, okay? Now, let's move to this one here. This is now how it's happened. You can see there is that arrow that we said that the market is, that they're going to come slightly down, and then we have the elections in America over that period of time. And the elections brought the world stock markets upwards because there is positive sentiment in the market. People feel good. Both parties feel they have won the election. Reality is going to kick in on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, where both parties, the Republicans as well as the Democrats, are going to realize, but they didn't really win. Nobody won. You know, it's meaningless that you can stop anything in the Senate. The House can still make a lot of investigations, okay, without getting into politics now. So you get kind of like a 50-50 null and void process. Now, the bigger picture behind Donald Trump and the Fed and that, I don't want to go into, you know, you borderline politics, but the Fed doesn't like Trump. Trump doesn't like the Fed or President Donald Trump. Not Trump, President Donald Trump. We still have to have respect for the presidency of America. We don't necessarily need to support them. But when we get to that point there, the market now is going to start dropping slightly till it comes down to this point here. And then year after the 29th, there's going to be a major drop up till year right into December. One of the reasons there, or another reason, is the money that the Federal Reserve, and I'm going to mention this on this video, America is laundering money to Switzerland. And I hope I'm not put into a confined situation like Julian Assange for saying this, but there's enough evidence that Julian Assange has discovered that America is laundering money to Switzerland, and the Swiss government are using approximately 200 companies to buy certain coins in the world stock markets. First of all, they buy the FANG stocks, you know, which is Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, Alphabet. So they're buying that and propping up the world stock markets. But what is happening now, guys, is that them propping up with billions of dollars, the prop up is not even working anymore. Because why would you want to buy a Ford Discovery that's costing you $40,000? Why would you want to spend $400,000 buying a Ford Discovery? The same with the world stock markets. Apple is overrated. Google, overrated. Facebook, overrated. Their prices are astronomical, and you barely make 5, 6, 7, 10, 20% a year on those stocks. So now what is happening is that big financial institutions are realizing that putting my money in the world stock markets, number one, is dangerous. It could drop anytime. I can lose a lot of money. And they are looking now at cryptocurrencies and saying, but listen, gee, you know, ZRX went up 70%. If I invested my money there, shit, that's a lot of money. And now they're taking out a small percentage, like 5%, 10% of their financial institutional money and investing that in cryptocurrencies. Coins like Ethereum Classic, they know these things are going to go upwards 10, 20, 30, 100%. Why would they want to leave their money in the world stock markets? Over $23 trillion have left world stock markets. Over $23 trillion. And that comes directly from, well, it's a credible source. I can't remember, Reuters. It comes directly from Reuters. If you look at the past history about people moving money out of world stock markets, that money is going to go into a few places, basically 2 places. It's going, or 3 places. It's going to go into paying off debt. If the institutional company has got debt, it's going to go into properties to pay off a property loan, or the money is going to find itself into cryptocurrencies. And a small amount of that money is going to find its way into there. On February 14, we released a report, and we said by the end of this Bitcoin year, the market cap is going to be $1.3 trillion. Although we don't see the OTC money yet included in the overall coin market cap, some of these financial institutions are still going to buy through the regular resources, like exchanges, and that money will still reflect in the overall coin market cap. There's an underlying pressure in Bitcoin, and you can literally see that here just by looking at this chart that we get from our algorithm. You can see that it's boiling. Now look at this actually. You looked at this for about 90 days. 90 days we have gone sideways and sideways and sideways. That is the underlying pressure of exchanges buying OTC money and moving the price slightly coming down, moving slightly coming down. And the reason is when people buy OTC money, there's not enough Bitcoin for myself. I remember buying Bitcoin for a client and our order was not filled. Still today it's not filled. You go and try and buy something like 500 Bitcoins through the exchange, your order will not be filled. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that. Now that is what you see here. Orders don't get filled, market spikes. Then they manipulate it again, market drops. And they've been keeping Bitcoin in this range till now. But you can't do that forever. When we get squeezed down to a point, the underlying pressure in Bitcoin is going to move it upwards. And this is what our algorithm is finding. Our algorithm takes into account a vast number of things. And probably, let me just show you actually. Maybe some of you have just missed it in the report of 4 to 5 November. Now, if you look at this report, how to read this in future Bitcoin and altcoin reports. Technical methodological analysis, advanced algorithm intelligence makes out 42% of our analysis. Conventional behavioral standards is about 11%. We take into account market conditions, okay, market cap, and we take into account the OTC money as well. That takes about 7% of our analysis. And then market capability, meaning what the effect of a coin can be on the market, like for example Digibyte, and how they use it, how much transactions they do. As a matter of fact, I think Tron, we picked it up in Tron before they had 1 million transactions. We picked it up that TRX is having an amazing run with, I don't know if that's out yet, but they made 1 million transactions. It's unbelievable. And then we take into account sentiment, social media status. We've got this new one now, which is operational manipulation, which borderline really a little bit of OTC money. And then obviously we've got undisclosed in that. And then because of that data here, this is what our algorithm produces. There's going to be an up, a down, sideways, upwards. So to get back to that question, the OTC money, it's a pity that there's no way that we can actually get that counted on coinmarketcap.com. But at least if we are aware of that, we know that the market is going to break out, because somehow, somewhere, this information is going to catch mainstream news, and somebody will develop a credible source of OTC or over-the-counter money. We are in contact, for example, with Coinbase. We've got a contact there, one contact in Binance and one contact in Bitfinex, who we can talk to. But other exchanges where they buy cryptocurrencies, we haven't got credible sources there. But if you call those credible sources and you ask them literally, listen, how much OTC did you do in this week? And they would actually tell you how many millions. So the 220 billion that we come up with is a subjective, unverified figure that we are working on. And that figure is not declining, it's getting more and more and more. And this is the result of people coming, financial institutions coming into the market. Okay, any other questions? Or
Marius, I just want to add to this discussion. I read that OTC market in a way exists also for miners to sell their coins. And this is where large amounts could be sold when they need the funds without disrupting other exchanges.
That is
so
correct,
we're talking
Boris.
Millions of dollars being sold.
Boris, you're 100% correct. I'm in touch with a very large organization, I don't want to mention the name here now, that does mining, and they can't, as soon as they have mined the 12.5 Bitcoins in that block, I think it's 10 minutes, 11 or 12 minutes, some are faster, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, it gets wrapped up so quick through OTC money, it's just not funny. You and I haven't got access to that. Now remember, some of those get sold at a cheaper rate, but not much cheaper. But let me also tell you this, Boris, that we've, from a discussion with somebody else here in Australia who doesn't live far from us, but they do business with Robert Kiyosaki and business all over the world, and they're in mining as well. A lot of these miners don't want to sell anymore to the OTC market. So remember, there's going to become a shortage on Bitcoin, over-the-counter money. This is why we say the elite is going to lose control. I just need to go back to that chart also. You know, the gentleman that just asked me that question before, why are they going to lose control? One of the reasons is also because the OTC money, you can't just simply go and buy 500 Bitcoins anymore. It doesn't work like that. There's not enough. It's going to push the price up. These people are going to lose control here. And that's why I said on a tweet yesterday, I said, give the elite 2 more weeks and bang, they toast. But you're definitely correct, Boris. If you've got more information on that, you're welcome just to mention that or talk about that too.
Sure, thank you. Yeah.
Marius, I have a question regarding altcoins. How come you think that altcoins will do better than Bitcoin? We have talked quite a lot of Bitcoin. So how come you think that altcoins will do better? And what are your selection criteria for the altcoins you choose? Because there are plenty of them.
Yes, that's correct. Our selection criteria for altcoins is basically really simple at this moment. We look at altcoins that had a very high point and went up extremely high in the market. Let's take, for example, Populous. Okay, now let's look at Populous here. I'm going to go to the, let's just take all these out. I can basically go there. I'm going to go to the day rate of Populous. Now we bought Populous at about $34 before it was even listed, actually, from memory. Now look at this graph here from Populous. We've gone up to that high point there, which was on 30 January, round about there, okay? You can see the circle there. Now, let's have a look and see what is the decline in growth. From that red line there to approximately there, let's say that high point there. Now, there's a decline of 2,206%, okay, in the value of the coin. Now, let's go and have a look at, okay, I want to leave that chart here, Bitcoin, US dollar. Let's just go and load up this one here. Now I'm going to show you what happened with Bitcoin, for example. Sorry, our internet is just slow. Here in Australia, we are still working with copper wire because the politicians want to take more salary for themselves. Okay, so let's take that out and we go to the one-day chart here. Now remember, if you look at Populous, just go back there, there's a 2,260% decline. And let's have a look at Bitcoin. Now, this is not really a selection criteria that we use, but it's one of the selection criteria. Now let's have a look and see how much, if we do the same stance, how much Bitcoin really declined. Right to the top. Now look there. Bitcoin declined 206% if you use the same method. Now, a coin can't really decline more than 100%. If it goes from 100%, it goes to zero. But if I use the same principle, you look at 206% decline versus if you look at this one, 2,200% decline. Now, which one is going to go up a lot higher? Populous, of course. Populous is going to go back to its all-time high. You're going to find that all coins are just going to go up, 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 up. And it's going to break the all-time high and go higher. The same with Bitcoin. We expect Bitcoin to reach.
Do all coins go back to all-time highs?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're going to find that Bitcoin is going to break the all-time high. This all-time high here, it's going to break that in the next 6 months, without a shadow of a doubt. You know, this is what we see in our algorithm.
And then you think Populous will do the same thing?
Yeah, because the momentum of Bitcoin is taking up every single altcoin exponentially the same value. So for example, now remember, not every single altcoin is going to do that. But for example, Populous and Veritasium is going to do that. You're going to see EOS, for example, do the same. But remember, EOS is something that we're going to sell as soon as it reaches a very high point here, around about $25 to $30 a coin. But you're going to see OMG go back up again. And if you look at OMG to get back to its all-time high, there's a bigger percentage gain that it's going to make. So that is one of the indicators you can use. The other indicator, just have a look at the usability of the crypto. But this year, this is what we said, most likely all altcoins are going to have a spurt upwards. For example, let me give you an example of this one here, Pay. P-A-Y USD, which is 10x Pay. This coin here is, let me see if I can get this on the 12th, the one-day chart. If you throw in about $500 to $1,000, that's going to turn, when it goes back to the all-time high, it's going to go up about, you'll convert $500 into approximately $23,000. Now, this is something really good. And we see this going back to that level there, which is about $9.
Yeah, Pay has new cards now.
Say again?
I said Pay is now sending out cards in Singapore and starting sending out cards in Europe. Visa 10x cards.
Interesting, interesting. Now remember, Pay, 10x Pay has got to deal with Populous as well. So if you buy Populous, you might as well just buy 10x Pay. So that's good information. Thanks for letting us know. And you can see where we are now. Gee, guys, we are so low. This thing is going to break upwards massively in our opinion. This is one of the things that, or cryptos that we are going to keep in our portfolio. And you know, it's going to surpass this and go back to that all-time high there. And that's 1,531%.
And interesting of,
Go ahead.
and interesting of 10x is also they have a burning rate for themselves. So they say for the next 10 years they have enough money for the developing of their products.
Exactly.
And they are hiring more and more people, and they have more than 200 people working for them in the office in Singapore.
That's exactly it. And I really ask you guys to go.
How many coins do they have out?
Go ahead.
No, the question was, I've never heard of them. I have heard about the Populous. What is their market amount of coins out there, or tokens, whatever they are? Do you know?
Just look on CoinMarketCap.
Okay, but I can look it up, of course. But since we're talking, can you tell me what is the? I guess a float is a stock word in stocks, but what is their? Are they in millions or billions? What are they?
Let's just quickly have a look, and I'll bring it up here.
I think
so you look at 61 million US dollars. The cap.
I meant supply. I meant circulating supply. Yeah, 109 million coins. Okay.
Yeah.
And total supply is 205. Okay.
Those are good figures. You're going to see that this thing is going to explode. It's one of the tokens that we just love. I love this one, and because it's associated with Populous, what I will do in the next report, I'm going to give you the link where you can go and read up about Populous, 10x Pay, and where Populous talks and reviews 10x Pay.
I remember reading about Populous. It has an interesting concept for the business. It's invoicing, if I'm not mistaken, where invoices put up on the auction.
And it's working already.
It's working, yeah. So this is a very interesting concept.
Last month they did £1 million of invoices.
Isn't Pillar similar?
Okay, yeah. All right, I'll look into Pay a coin. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we can't disregard any coin. Now look at this one also. You know, Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin by far. Remember, Bitcoin dropped about 200% if we use the same analysis, and this one dropped 560 or 570%. So Ethereum is another great buy. So is Ethereum Classic. And what you literally need to do, you need to narrow down your investments into about 10 to 15 cryptos and just stick with them. You know, you can have more, like we have got a lot more, but we have got like I would invest in small cryptos that could potentially go up $30,000, and I would invest $1,000 in each of them and have about 20 of them. But remember, your major money should be in Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, the large coins where you can't lose money, like PPT, Veritasium. These are excellent, excellent buys. I mean, and this, remember this, guys, the financial institutions are not stupid. Those guys are mentally very, very much there. Smart guys. They are looking at Ethereum, Populous, Veritasium, even Zcash is the other one that they're looking at. These guys are piling into this like mad. Those guys won't sit on the sideline forever. 2 or 3 weeks ago, a very big financial institution guy who manages billions of dollars, his name is Prasad Hara. And I sent a tweet out on Twitter where we met him here in Brisbane in Australia. He came and he made big deals with us. This guy is telling me how these financial institutions are buying Populous, Veritasium, 10x Pay, Zcash, Ethereum, Litecoin. I mean,
Litecoin.
they are buying Litecoin like crazy. So don't believe the narrative that Litecoin is
Have you
dead.
done any?
Go ahead.
Have you done any analysis on the Pillar wallet or the Pillar project? Have you looked into that?
Yeah. What is their ticker symbol? We have done some work on that.
PLR.
Yeah, PLR. Yeah, that's correct. Let's just have a look at that.
Don't you think that Ethos wallet is much better than Pillar?
Say again.
The Ethos wallet is much better than Pillar. The Ethos project.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Ethos.
Yeah, hey, Marius, this is Robin. You mentioned Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. What have you heard as far as Ethereum Classic in use case?
Yeah, same question here.
I haven't heard a lot about the use case of Ethereum Classic. I've read some articles where they really are pushing Ethereum Classic. I am not a big reader of all these articles because there are too many articles. I let my algorithm actually we import that data into the algorithm, and then based on that data, we call them data points. The algorithm would analyze all this data in conjunction with social media and then tell us what is the sentiment indicator on Ethereum Classic. All I know is that, and I look at these functions, the sentiment indicator on Ethereum Classic is very positive. That drives a lot of positive sentiment in any cryptocurrency that we trade. The second thing is institutional investors are buying Ethereum Classic. So those 2 points are what I base the fact on, that this is something that I can invest in. And if anybody here has got a little bit better understanding of the use case of Ethereum Classic, I know it's out there. I've read it. Feel free to answer us here.
I think Ethereum Classic's better for smart contracts. I might be wrong, and I don't think it gets congested as much. But I might be completely wrong on that.
In terms of investing, Marius, if somebody would consider Ethereum right now versus Ethereum Classic, and you only had X amount of dollars to invest, where would somebody should put it? In which one?
I would rather invest in Ethereum Classic. It's a very low price at the moment, and we're going to see that. Think about it this way. Ethereum Classic, I don't know what the price is at the moment. I think about $8 or $9, but it can easily go to $20 faster than what Ethereum can go to $400. So for me personally, I'm heavily invested in Ethereum Classic as well. But remember this: it's all a gamble with these kind of cryptos. But Bitcoin is going to go upwards and reach 11,000 and upwards. We see Ethereum Classic doubling very quickly and then doubling again very quickly. But you won't get Ethereum doubling from 200 to 400, from 400 to 800. This can take a little bit longer. So Ethereum Classic will go up faster. And I'm only in play for Ethereum Classic. Once I make 100% profit, I'm out. You should double 100,000 into 200,000. You take your profits and you go. So remember, I'm not attached to any crypto. I look at where can I make 100% profit. That's my number one goal when I get into a crypto. Can this go to 100% profit very quickly? Yes? Okay, get in.
Would you then, would you say that having a core holdings as opposed to trading coins would be a good idea? And let's say, well, even Bitcoin should be traded at some point, of course. But if someone would consider Bitcoin and Litecoin and maybe even Ethereum or Classic as their core holdings, and then work with the other ones like 0x and Pay and you know, even Ripple, and then trade them back into BTC. In other words, you can do exchanges in those pairs. Would that be a good strategy to have a core holding and then tradable stuff? Like something
Yes,
that you don't touch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really depends on with how much money you trade. Now, because we trade with a huge amount of money and we also trade for other clients' money, we have in our major portfolio, which is our conservative portfolio. Now, remember, I can't simply go to the exchange and sell $1 million worth of Bitcoin. They won't allow me to do it. You can, because it locks up the exchange, you just won't get it done. You have to sell it like $200,000 worth of Bitcoin on this exchange, 300 maybe on the other one, Binance maybe 600, and little bit by bit you have to sell it. So it gets very complicated. So of the millions of dollars that we trade, we keep certain cryptos regardless of where the price is going, because we invest long term, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Because you have to take into account, let me just show you this. There you go. There's the 1, 2, 3, 4 years where Bitcoin is going to go. Even if you keep Bitcoin and never ever trade it, Bitcoin is going to go to $1 million regardless. But you can, all these big dips here is the big dips where you can get out, you sell and you buy back on the low. There you sell, and we know where those high points are. So you sell on the high, get back on the low. But we can't do that, for example, with $10 million. You can't sell it all on the high. You will never ever identify the high, and you'll never ever have time to sell it all on that high point. Because the problem is once you get to a high point, it drops really quickly. You know, these big spikes that you get, if you see these big spikes, you go to the high, if you try and sell there, you're not going to get time to sell because the market's going to drop like a rock. And it happens all over. There's the high, there the market drops, there it drops again like a rock. It drops faster than what the market goes up. So what we then do with our portfolios is
Can't
that
you ladder in your stock?
yeah, what we do with our portfolios is that we take a certain percentage, let's say 20%, and we then trade with that 20% and we double that 20. And then we bring that money back into our original portfolio. Now, let's say if you trade with $500,000, you know, you can simply do this. You can take about 70%, keep that in your holdings and put it back in your Trezor wallets, your Bitfee wallets, and safeguard all those, pull it off the exchanges, and you trade in with 30% of your money. And once you double that money, you pull that money back again and keep it in your wallet. I would never ever, if I have $500,000, trade with the full amount constantly, because you can lose a lot, you know, by trading as well. But long term, I'm looking at trading for the next 4 years and become a multi-millionaire. And many of us here will become multi-millionaires, because look at this. This is your first year. And we had that last time, you know, where Bitcoin went up 800. Actually, if you go back here to around about 2015 January, Bitcoin went up 736%. The 777 figure constantly repeats itself. Now this one year went up about 800%. This year we expect another 780% and another 780% and another 600 or 700% year. So this is just for visual purposes where the market is going to go. It's going to go up and down. It's going to go up again in the second Bitcoin year. And then third
you expect $1 million? I'm sorry to interrupt. You expect $1 million by 2021?
Absolutely, yeah.
Your algorithm predicts.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we were the first people in the world. We were the first people in the world to predict that $1 million. So remember that John McAfee is a premium member.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think about John McAfee prediction by 2020, $1 million?
Yeah, it's correct. It's going to happen, and it may actually be a very low figure. Because remember, what's coming next? This year is a year of struggle. And remember this, On 10 April 2018, the market was supposed to break out upwards. We would have been well over 20, on our way to $35,000, $36,000 by now. But the market has been manipulated, and we found the identified point, which is 10 April 2018. That is where the manipulation of the markets started. And you have to remember that you and I, the blue-collar workers, we're just a little fish in a very big pond played by big sharks, and we don't even know how big these guys are. They can dump the market at any point. They can rally the market at any point. But what we are trying to identify is the most likely point and path for Bitcoin to go up. They will run the market up to a high point, and they're going to get out of the market on the high point and then come back and buy on the low. They're going to repeat it for the next 4 years. And once we have those high and low points, we just follow what they do. And our algorithm is picking up all their plays at the moment. Like right now, it's picking up that we are flat. As you can see here, this is the latest Bitcoin chart. Okay, we went 90 days flat. We now had that uptrend. We're going down. Now, let me just make that larger. Follow that red line, and you're welcome just to take a screenshot there if you guys want, you know. That play, the red line, is kind of what the algorithm is seeing. And come here, we're going to have that point there. It's going to break out, and it's going to go upwards. The elite wanted to go upwards, and they're going to lose control anyway. Even if they want to break it down, they just won't be able to do it. And remember, if we say elite, there's elites fighting elites, big powers fighting other big powers, banks fighting other banks. Certain banks just hate each other. JP Morgan and these guys, they don't like anybody else. So other big banks don't like them too. So remember, there's a lot of infighting going on again. Like certain banks want the market to go up so that they can make profit. Other banks want to keep it low so that they can get into the market. Not every single thing is working in a rhythm. It's a disrupted rhythm. And through all this nonsense and fighting and all this kind of chat and SEC and ETF approval, we need to make money, and we need to identify where the market is going to go. What we identify is the most likely path, and we say it's now going to go upwards. Sorry, I went off the track a little bit there.
Marius,
it's Mark.
Oh.
Yeah. You recently put out a report about CND via the Telegram, and you talked about the CND going up to about 5 times where it is. Yep. And so I was wondering, would you think it's reasonable then to sell a little bit of Bitcoin and buy some CND for the short term, for about 3 months?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because remember this, Bitcoin will not go up 5 times. You know, Bitcoin is going to go up a lot, but you're going to see that CND, for example, is going to go up a lot more. So I wouldn't sell all my cryptos or all my Bitcoin. I don't know if anybody else here has got more information about CND.
it's a can you hear me, Marius?
Yes, I can.
Oh, right. I believe it's an artificial intelligence app. I downloaded the app, and it goes like how your own algorithm works, or similar to Cliff I's algorithm works. It works on sort of the consensus of people's decisions. So it puts a question out to people that have got the app, and you're supposed to hold 5,000 CND tokens to be able to use the app. Yeah. And you can ask it questions, or you can be part of the voting system for people to ask questions for the future. And it's an artificial intelligence based on consciousness, like of people that have joined the app. And it works. It has a 70% success rate. 70% success rate. And one of the reasons why I got into it is because I listened to, there's a bloke called Mr. Kusnoff on YouTube, to be honest. I know you shouldn't do, this is not investment advice like everybody else, but if you think about it, a lot of main markets and things, they want to know if they can predict pretty accurately where a market's going, and this particular app does it pretty well, like your own algorithm, Marius, and like Cliff Eyes. I've got to be honest, Marius, your work is so powerful, like Cliff Eyes data. It's remarkable. So I'm proud of you, Marius. Well done what you're doing for people, by the way. So really appreciate it all, you know. So.
No, thank you, TG. Yeah, that app, we should get that number. But thank you for your great comment, TG. And just remember, guys, that I'm not claiming that I am 100% correct with our work. And we get so many attacks all over the damn social media. It's just unreal. You know, I don't know why people would attack people constantly, you know, and call you a scammer and a fraud and whatever, you know. And by the way, TG, I just want to mention something here on the call as well. There is now a group of people on social media, especially Twitter, Facebook, and everything. And what they're doing on Twitter now is they are contacting every single person that follows me and then show them documentation that we are frauds and scammers. And but there's no evidence to prove that. If I ever scammed anybody and you can find that, give me that person, I'll give them their money 100-fold back. I wouldn't say that if we scam people. We're not scammers. You know, we do honest, ethical work. And we were the first people in the world, in my opinion, that the 5 December, when we identified the high-end Bitcoin and called the 20,000 low, there it is. The report is there to download. The timestamp when that report was written can also be validated. So people now claim that we write these reports and backdate them. It's not true. Many of you guys were subscribers at that time. There's another one here. Just recently, 28 June, we called the low. 24 July, we call the high. They are the reports. We don't fake these things. But there's a group of scammers or people that are basically going to call you guys and tell you guys, Marius calls himself a military vet. I'm not calling myself a vet. Yeah, look in the back of my, if you look at my, the back of my wall, I was a military vet. I was in the special forces in South Africa. I trained and served under President Nelson Mandela. I'm a highly decorated special forces soldier. There's the evidence on the back of my wall. I was a lieutenant in the special forces. So I'm not making these things up. You know, you can't lie about these things and try and get away with it when you're a public figure like me, you know. So yeah, yeah, go ahead.
And just to double check, because there was something that popped up on Twitter, and I was a little bit suspicious of it, but I think, don't know whether this is right or not, but is your Twitter handle Bitcoin Marius?
That is correct, yes.
It is correct, it is. All right, because it didn't seem right to me the other day, so, but no, so long as it is, that's all good.
Yeah, we changed it there to Bitcoin Marius.
Right, okay. So there you go. So people just need to make sure that they're following the right Twitter handle and they shouldn't get caught out. And the thing is, Marius, and this goes out to everybody, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter is full of trolls, yeah? I'll be honest with you. Generally speaking, I don't talk to people on social media. I just observe. Occasionally I retweet something or whatever. I don't generally get involved in people's conversations because too many people are jealous and have got too big egos and they don't like it. They don't. It's a funny world. It's a funny world. And we all learn things through hardship, really, don't we? So, and it takes us a long time to cotton on to how people treat one another. So, you know, but yeah, you can't trust things. So.
Yeah, and we always try to be very diligent with people on Twitter and social media. We're not harsh with them, but we just block them when they're nasty. So just remember, always come back to me if there's information. You know, we're not scammers. We're definitely not. I mean, many people have came and visited us here in Brisbane. You're welcome to come in here, come and visit us. We'll make you feel right at home. But we have made 8 failed calls. There they are. And we state them. One of the failed calls was that we said that Litecoin is going to go to 1485 on 24 April 2018. And it was a failed call.
But nobody's perfect, Marius, and at the end of the day, you're still pretty sure that's going to come in, but at a later time. You can't help the manipulation that's gone on from Mount Gorrocks and other things, can you? So at the end of the day, the people that are in the shadows are trying to hold this market down. Like you said, it should have moved up a lot higher. Even Cliff High says the same thing you're saying, but it's got to wait another year. It's one of those things. We all have to be patient and understand. So,
Marius,
yeah, go ahead.
there's a lot of FUD. There's a lot of FUD flying in all directions, as we're all aware of, and which is why, personally, I appreciate your positive attitude.
Thanks, Tom.
It's it's really good to hear.
Marius, where do you see Litecoin here over the next 4 to 6 weeks?
Okay, Litecoin over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
That was a nice video of Litecoin, eh?
Say again?
Now, your video of Litecoin in the beginning of this year was a nice video, so it will still come true.
Oh,
But,
absolutely.
good video.
You are going to see that is going to come true because those patterns repeat itself. Look, what has happened here in the last 8 months is definitely not supposed to happen. You can work at any algorithm. Our algorithm also does not point to it unless there is manipulation and somebody breaks that code or they break the pattern. And now suddenly people are starting to recognize that is the case. Now, let's quickly have a look at Litecoin here. You're going to see that Litecoin, I'll draw you the pathway how we see Litecoin. Just give me a second here. Okay, so can you guys see my circles?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we're on the right screen. What is going to happen here is that we could go slightly lower over this weekend, but then it's going to go and do this pattern here. It's going to go like this. It's going to make a higher point there. And then it's going to come down slightly here, and then we can have these breakouts. It's going to go sideways there on the 20th, a big breakout here, and then it's going to do this. It's going to form a narrow band there, go up, sideways, and then there. That is what you can expect from Litecoin. I'm looking on my one screen, the algorithm chart, and I'm just duplicating that freehand on this chart here.
Okay, when Bitcoin takes its drop, are you expecting Litecoin to just follow suit like it has in the past, or are we going to finally get some divergence between Litecoin and Bitcoin here in the near future?
Yes, absolutely. The same as what the Dow Jones is going to diverge from Bitcoin. We're going to see that later on in this year, if not early next year, where Litecoin is potentially going to go to $4,000 very, very quickly. And I don't want to make any call on Litecoin here because we just don't know. But I can tell you now that Litecoin is going to break $1,000 unexpectedly. Yeah, so Litecoin is going to go up.
Do you agree with Cliff High that it will be 125 Bitcoin?
I haven't really read what Cliff High said about it. I've heard people tell me what Cliff High said, but I do believe that Cliff High could be correct. That maybe not a fifth. You said a fifth. We see more a break of the 1,000, and then it's going to go to 4.5 maximum at that point. So I don't really see a fifth, but I see a big uptrend. Now look at this fractal here. We've got a fractal here. Remember what I said about the repeating factors? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Cliff sees a 1/4 or 1/5 Litecoin when Bitcoin gets to 100K. Yeah. So that's not, and Cliff has said this. He had an interview with Bix Weir over the last few days because some questions went out, and one of the questions, because there was Bitcoin was supposed to hit 100K this winter, this fall, yeah, But because of the manipulation that's gone on this year, it's not happened, and it's gone in. It's going to go into next year. So I would have thought what you're seeing in your algorithmic data is foreseeing what Cliff's data is seeing for next year. So the data is going to be Bitcoin going to like 20, 30, 40K, drop back down again, rumble about, and then push up to 100K perhaps into end of 2019 into 21. So into 2020, sorry. And Cliff's, I'm pretty sure Cliff's data is saying that Litecoin would be about the 25K marker-ish when Bitcoin gets to 100K. So we've just got to be patient, guys. We've all just got to be patient. If you can make money on, if you like what you do, Marius, you take 10 or 20%. If you can move it about and make a few grand here and there, good on you. And then go back in on the dips. I'm only just starting to learn some of this. I managed to do this in a week. I don't know how I did it. It was only a small amount of money, couple of grand, but I managed to. I bought last Sunday when it peaked, to be honest, and I was like, damn it, I've got a little bit of FOMO. I'm always a sucker for it. I'm too new at this, but I waited, and I went in. I sent my Litecoin to another exchange, and then traded it off for another 10 different altcoins. Yeah, and while it was doing that, I had to wait for Litecoin to confirm more than what I paid for it. And once it did that and it dropped again and confirmed, while I was trading, Bitcoin went up. And do you know what? I ended up with $400 worth more of altcoins by being patient. If I'd have done it and been FOMO'd, I'd have lost. But no, and that's the thing. It's all a learning curve. Everybody's got to learn. And we all do it in little steps. I wish.
Hey, Marius. May I squeeze in a quick suggestion?
Sure.
Would it be possible to have a Telegram channel only for the members where we could possibly communicate with each other in case anybody has any question?
Yeah, good idea.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe we could help each other out somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea. You know,
I'm a novice to this, so I'm as noob as you could possibly get. So my learning curve has been crazy. Yeah.
Look, the only way to go forward in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is to create a team of people that can work together. We share information, because remember, my goal is to make a few $1 million. I'm sure you guys as well. So let's work together and help each other get there. You know, I'm happy if we can do that. Yes, that's fine. Anyway, what we see on the Litecoin chart,
quick question.
3, 4, 5, 6, and upwards. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Marius, the button again. I'm sorry, guys, the button again. There's one question that is coming from last week. You know, we talked about a starting point for the people trying to follow your portfolio, etc. There's another thing that popped into my mind is obviously you do some trades for some people that have got by the sounds of it bigger money, and I was wondering whether you'd be willing to not to overload your workload or whatever for your premium members, whether you'd be willing to create an investment portfolio for us smaller guys to perhaps chuck in $500 to $5,000 for you to trade for us, and perhaps you take a small fee. I don't know. I just thought I'd throw it out there just to help us guys along that might be able to afford that, rather than being bigger money. You know,
yeah, so we can have a look at that, but
anyway,
I think we're getting a bargain right now.
We can have a look at that, but I tell you what, guys, this information that I'm giving you now, you get more information than what the premium members are getting. You're getting the big view picture. Now imagine, all you need to do, we don't have to trade that money for you. You can simply take that $500, put it in, forget about it, and come back here at the high at 13 April 2018 and cash out. It's as simple as that. You're going to make insane money. But if you want to go with us, we will tell you where the high points are, where we're going to sell. And that's exactly what I would do, the major high points. And we've identified all of them. I'm looking now on my chart. And as I say, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 more major crash points. We've already lined out the entire year. And remember, we did this in the beginning of the year, and we are kind of like almost accurate. When we saw the manipulation coming in, we redid all our charts. So we know more or less where we're going to go. And I will give you those points. Now, I'm not stating that we will be 100% correct. We will modify these slides as we go. But if you want us to invest, yeah, we can do it. But, you know, it's complicated when you take, I think about 300 people registered for the webinars, but we've only got 63 people online. But many people just can't attend. But if people start giving us $500, you know, just to arrange that, it becomes very complicated. And then think about the other fact too, you know, if I pass away or something happens with me, then there's a big problem then to get that money back again. So this is why I keep my wife, Wendy, in line as well. So just keep in mind the risk as well.
Yeah.
You've got your portfolio that you have given to us to download to use for a guidance there anyway, but between these meetings and the extremely affordable fee that we're paying for the monthly premium membership, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And the other thing about Cliff High is Cliff's using linguistics. He's not looking, Cliff would be the first guy to tell you, he's not a chart guy. No. Linguistics, and he's applied his own values over 20 years to bringing out those emotional high tones and points. The main thing about the 4-to-1 that Cliff sees, and that's coming up from the linguistics, is because Litecoin was not a fork. I mean, it's Bitcoin code, then it was altered. It's approximately 4 times as fast, Litecoin is, and there's 4 times as many coins. And the next big move in this, during this next, 9 months, we'll have the halving again for Litecoin. Then the next year will be a halving again for Bitcoin, and the price has gone up each time ahead of that halving. Not to mention where we are with economics worldwide with the other, you know, trading partners around the world. I mean, you've got Europe, Asia, and economics are slowing down. They've been slowing down for 4 months in China. But, you know, China has blessed Bitcoin again now, so it's legal. So that'll take a lot of money from China that was been going into the housing market, which is already crashing in Australia, Europe, Canada. That money will go into Bitcoin and other altcoins. And then when they come out with their Chinese approved government, communist, whatever.
They buy Bitcoin in China, they just approved it.
Beg your pardon?
I don't think you can buy Bitcoin in China. They just said it's okay, isn't it?
In China, what has happened is that you can hold Bitcoin and you can move Bitcoin from person to person, but they haven't officially allowed the Chinese people to buy it on exchanges. But internally, you can move it around.
Since when has that stopped the Chinese from moving money out of the country?
Exactly, so, that's my point.
I'm just saying, when the Chinese miners and everybody else was going crazy last year on the run up, you can expect that money to start going there again, as well as, you know, physical gold like they normally do, and they celebrate in their customs.
Isn't there a problem with China having a monopoly on Bitcoin? And how does that tie in now with America perhaps worrying about it? And then you get these people from Ripple visiting the American government, and you've got this XRP coming into all these banks. There's so much good news about XRP. I mean, overall, as a bigger picture, may that affect Bitcoin future price?
XRP
is only short term. Only over a few years. Once atomic swaps and more peer-to-peer happens, Ripple will be worthless, I reckon, in the future. Sorry to butt in.
No, that's fine.
Well, XRP, there's no cap on it.
Right now, so if you want to put in, is it not worth putting a lot of money in XRP now, whilst these banks are sorting themselves out? You'll get a short-term, massive run.
only short term. I would say only about probably an 18-month to 3-4 year period. I don't know. You've got to watch it, and you've got to watch their cycles, because there's definitely a pump and dump scheme there going on.
Yeah, it used to be a pump and dump. Now that they've got these banks getting involved, will it be a pump and dump from now on, you think?
I do, yeah. Yeah, I read something on eToro a few. I'd have to be able to email it to Marius, to be honest. Find a way for Marius to share it to you guys, because I really don't know how to screen share right now, and I'd have to dig it up. But I came across an article that was written by someone that was in the know. It was on eToro. How it got out, I don't know. It seems pretty legit. But basically, it works inverted to how Litecoin worked. And it actually happened because I traded Ripple out not long after I read this thing. And by selling Ripple, now it's gone live, and it's becoming more liquid. It's a base pair now, yeah? It's a base pair to Bitcoin. It's a base pair to the dollar. And they were saying you don't need a lot of money to make Ripple go up. How it really works, I don't understand. But I proved it, actually, because I sold some Litecoin on Bitstamp that day, and I sold some Ripple. And when I sold my Litecoin, because the volume's low, the Litecoin went down. When I sold my Ripple, it went up. And this article was saying that when you sell it, the selling pressure will make Ripple go up in the end. But it's to do with liquidity. And like, I'm not making a lot of sense, but it's inverted. And there's going to be a fight for a few years between Bitcoin and Ripple, because the banks want to try and squash Bitcoin. But it ain't going to work. It'll work short term, but you've got Europe that's going to collapse. You've got the money flying back to America with the dollar. The Fed can't keep raising the interest rates in the end. You know, at the end of the day, the money, it's all a bit of a hickledy-pickledy mess. And yeah, Ripple will replace the liquidity for global markets for a little while. But once peer-to-peer atomic swaps start working, that's going to take about, I would have thought, 40, 50% of the market away. Banks are just going to condense back down into a minority, aren't they? So
that's exactly it, TJ. Look, I'm just quickly going to mute everybody here, but thank you for that information, TJ. We are going to keep this discussion going, but for the purpose of this webinar, I'm just going to call the webinar over, and I'm going to stop the recording and start uploading that on YouTube. But don't go away. We can still discuss and keep on going. So let me just quickly stop the recording. So this is the end of the recording of 10 November Australian time, 9 November Pacific Daylight Time. Thank you very much for everybody that's online.